From advertising to software as a service to data.
Across all of our programs and clients, we've seen a 55 to 65% open rate.
Getting brands authentically integrated into content performs better than TV advertising.
Typical lifespan of an article is about 24 to 36 hours.
If we're reaching out to the right person with the right message and a clear call to action, then it's just a matter of timing.
Welcome to the Martech Podcast, and I Hear Everything production. In this podcast, you'll hear the stories of world-class marketers that use technology to drive business results and achieve career success. We'll unearth the real-world experiences of some of the brightest minds in the marketing and technology space so you can learn the tools, tips, and tricks they've learned along the way. Now here's the host of the Martech Podcast, Benjamin Shapiro.
Welcome to the Martech Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Shapiro, and today we're going to discuss ways to increase sales with live streaming. Joining us is Frost Lee, who is the founder and CEO of Social Chat, which provides the social commerce solution to e-commerce stores, giving brands the ability to run live stream shopping, simulating the in-person shopping experiences for their customers. Yesterday, Frost and I talked about how to use live streaming to drive revenue, and today we're going to continue the conversation talking about what is interactive marketing. All right, here's the second part of my conversation with Frost Lee, the founder and CEO of Social Chat. Frost, welcome back to the Martech Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Excited to have you back on the show. You know, yesterday we talked about something I think is a really fascinating trend in e-commerce, which is the idea that brands are starting to use live streaming and selling their products in an interactive format. You're actually using real-time video to drive transactions without using a second screen. It's a brand new world. Which brings me to this sort of higher level topic of the idea of interactive marketing, right? Marketing that you're not just consuming and then making a purchase decision down the road. You're actually in an experience and buying in real time. I think of interactive marketing being something that's been around for a little while when it comes to gaming, but we're seeing it in the real world. Talk to me about what you think interactive marketing is.
If we think about usually when we are doing the natural like shopping experience in the store, it's very interactive, right? It's either you talk with the salesperson and then get recommendation, make a purchase, or when you are browsing and then you try things on and other people are like, oh, this looks great. And then you make a purchase. So interactive marketing is really try to mimic the natural shopping experiences for people when the brands are talking with the customers.
I'm going to date myself here, but in the mid-90s when I was in high school, the cool thing to do was get your friends in a car together with no cell phones, go to a mall and go to the same store together and either rampage and pillage it or decide you were going to buy something because we were obnoxious high school kids. That's the experience seemingly that the digital world has been trying to cultivate. So how far along are we to the idiot high school kids running to the mall and buying things together experience? Is it we're all sitting on front of our screens and we're kind of in a big Google chat and we can virtually walk through a mall? Or, what's the actual experience like?
I think a lot of technology has been making huge progress. It goes all the way from you can hop on a video call with a salesperson. The person actually shows you everything and even prepare your shopping cart for you out there. You make a decision of making to, you can ask a question to other fellow shoppers and then in real time, they give you advice. It's like, do you think pink still works for me in my 50s? And other people are like, oh, this is totally cute. So like people can give you real-time interactive thoughts and then you decide to make a purchase. So really, Ben, honestly, I feel other than we don't touch the product, the level of interaction is only richer than before because not only your immediate friends, it's really anyone who shares similar interest and shopping behavior like you.
It's funny, you mentioned, you can be on a call with a salesperson and they can hold up something like a pair of shoes and see them and look how wonderful and cool they are, but you can't see what they look like on your feet. You can't see how they feel. There's some challenges inherently, and I'm thinking mostly apparel. I guess the question is, first off, are there industries where you're seeing this type of interactive experience take off? Is it great for retail fashion? Is it meant for hardware, software? what are the verticals that are seeing success with interactive marketing?
I would say one of the really advanced technology that we see now is we can really see immediately what looks on you. For example, you can literally see the lip color change on your camera when you are talking to a salesperson. You can see the hat just appears on top of your head right there. Like, you're right, you wouldn't see the texture, but for the color, for the style, it's right there. So I do see a lot of the retail technology has been using that for fashion. But also, I think hardware and wearable technology is another big one because they're very expensive. And that's a very personal investment. And people definitely want to see how they can use it personally before making the purchase.
My wife did this the other day with a pair of sunglasses where she was sitting in front of her work laptop, moving her head around like, what are you doing? Are you agreeing with your spreadsheet? And she's like, no, I'm trying on sunglasses. And I thought it was hilarious. And then all of a sudden there's a picture of her wearing these sunglasses. And I was like, yeah, those are great. And she bought them. I guess the big question is, you mentioned, all right, well, there's somebody that's going to pop on the screen and be like, no, that looks great. You should buy that pink tutu, even though you're in your 50s, right? How are you figuring out who to connect with and kind of blends in the notion of influencers and some sort of trusted authority with your marketing? How do you think about what role influencers play when it comes to interactive marketing?
It's definitely huge, but exactly to your point, other than the voice from the brand, people totally want to hear from the domain experts and the people they can associate with, right? I want to listen to someone that I really trust their fashion advice out there. So I've been seeing influencers doing way more live streaming, which is interactive. And also, you probably saw a lot of like Ask Me Anything sessions they host with the brands.
You got into the content topic. And honestly, when we went into interactive marketing, the first place where my head went was unfortunately inappropriate. It was the OnlyFans type model where people are getting onto websites and having interactive experiences that are maybe something we don't tell everyone. But that to me is like the first thing that I think about when it's like, what's an interactive marketing experience? What's a service that someone is providing? And unfortunately, it's pornography, and I won't get into how I feel about that, but it seems to be a popular brand in the interactive marketing space. Are you seeing brands do something interesting or similar that is providing a service using interactive marketing?
I saw a lot of different services out there. So if nothing else, I think live shopping is one of, we just talked yesterday about that is very interactive. But I also saw a lot of the town hall software. So it may not be like immediate real time, but people try to answer any questions you have and react to that within a few minutes. I also saw a lot of those voting softwares as well on the website. So basically, I want to ask a question to this brand ambassador, and whenever the question gets a lot of votes, it gets asked.
That's interesting, that the town hall idea where you're basically participating with a group of people to get expertise and services is an interesting way where you're not having to do this on a one-to-one basis, but one-to-many. And then you're kind of getting some crowd dynamics to figure out what's interesting and hopefully get people thinking that what their peers are doing is investing or buying services or contributing or paying. Last question I have for you. Talk to me about the technology behind interactive marketing. Are there platforms that are best in market that most people are gravitating to? Who are the biggest players in the space?
I would say the biggest player in this space right now, a lot of people still rely on the social media platforms such as Facebook or Instagram to do the interactive marketing. But more and more brands are moving all these pieces back to their own website so they can direct all the user attention and the content back to their own sites.
So when you're building out an interactive marketing platform on your old site, there has to be some sort of infrastructure, tools, or plugins to drive that interaction. What are people doing to actually make that work?
So it goes from super light, which is just a chat box, to you can have real-time video, live sessions, to even you can just like jump in all these ongoing like video sessions on the site that is co-running on the same time and to see what you're interested. To also, so there are websites, they blend in online and offline. So not only you let people participate in all these interactive experiences online, they also invite you to come into the store when you are a super loyal user, when you engage with all these sessions out there.
It's interesting to think about how we're replicating what was the old experience of going to the mall and getting some help. And it's not just buying physical products. Now we're talking about services. We're talking about knowledge. We're talking about relationships with influencers. There's all sorts of different ways to make your marketing more interactive. And Frost, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling us a little bit about how that works.
Thank you so much, Ben.
All right. And that wraps up this episode of the Martech Podcast. Thanks for listening to my conversation with Frost Li, the founder and CEO of Social Chat. If you'd like to get in touch with Frost, you can find a link to her LinkedIn profile in our show notes. You can contact her on Twitter, where her handle is Frost. That's at F-R-O-S-T. Or you can visit her company's website, which is socialchat.ai. Just one more link in our show notes I'd like to tell you about. If you didn't have a chance to take notes while you were listening to this podcast, head over to martechpod.com, where we have summaries of all of our episodes and contact information for our guests. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can even send us your topic suggestions or your marketing questions, which we'll answer live on our show. Of course, you can always reach out on social media. Our handle is MartechPod on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can contact me directly. My handle is Ben J. Shap, BenJShap. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, we're going to publish an episode every day this year. So hit the subscribe button in your podcast app and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.